Welcome back to The Explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled you're joining us today. We're continuing our deep dive into the fascinating world of the second weaving, and specifically looking at how ancient mythic narratives about care and memory are literally shaping the future of technology. So get comfortable, maybe take a deep breath, and let's just jump right into the material.
I want you to consider this core question for a second. What would it actually mean for an interface to behave more like a threshold than a trap? Because, let's be honest, we live totally surrounded by tools that constantly demand our attention long before they've ever truly earned our trust. Today, we're mapping out a completely different approach, one that's rooted in an ancient story that teaches us exactly how to build with care. Just to anchor us, this is part 4 of our 5-part journey. We've gone through part 1, the world before the interface, part 2, the Navigator Codex, and part 3, symbols that remember. And that brings us to today, part 4, the tree. This is where we follow one specific symbol to see what it can actually teach us about modern design.
Section 1, Safe but Wild.
Okay, so to understand the interface, we really first have to understand the environment. After a super long, arduous voyage at sea, the people have finally made landfall at a secluded river. Here the kids are given total freedom to roam, but, and this is key, it isn't policed by walls or fences or, surveillance. It's an acoustic perimeter, which is fascinating, right? Fun fact, depending on the wind and the terrain, a sharp human cry can actually carry for over a mile. So this listening boundary provides freedom within reach. It creates a world that feels vast to the kids, but is entirely held by the community's quiet attention.
Right at the very edge of that acoustic perimeter stands the nut tree. Now, before anyone ever calls this tree sacred, it is, first and foremost, profoundly useful. The adults go there for nuts, the children go for shade and a place to play. But crucially, it's also where a figure known as the Silent One goes to sit. Because it sits right on that threshold, safe but wild, known but quiet, it allows him to find true solitude without disappearing or feeling exiled from his tribe. Moving on to Section 2, the tear and the hodo. This right here is really the emotional core of our story. It's where ordinary usefulness receives a deep revelation. The Silent One is sitting at the root of the nut tree grieving. He's holding the weight of all severance, all these unspeakable wounds. And step 1, a single tear falls from his face. Step 2, at that exact moment, a leaf falls from the tree above. Step 3, the tear actually strikes the leaf in midair, and it settles into a quiet hollow in the roots. Notice what happens here, or rather what doesn't happen. There is no forced resolution. Nobody rushes in to fix his pain. His grief is just simply held by the environment. And right there, in that tiny hollow, the Silent One first perceives the harmony triquetra. It's this soft, white gold threefold sign. This first seeing is completely unique. It's what we call a sign of hosted coherence, a deeply private moment where grief meets life and where the environment essentially proves it's capable of holding what falls. Which brings us to Section 3, solitude becomes shared seeing. So the story doesn't just end in solitude. A young girl, the first child, comes over to sit with the Silent One. She watches the breath leaving her nose, really attuning herself to the space. And seeing his tears without saying a single word, her own tears begin to fall. She reaches out to take his hand, and in that exact moment of physical contact and shared empathy, wow, the harmony triquetra shimmers, right there in the space between them. It's absolutely beautiful because it requires consent, contact, and true empathy. I love this quote. The first seeing was solitary, but solitude was not its purpose. I mean, how profound is that? After this shared seeing, the child doesn't start preaching. No, she takes this deep coherence and spreads it horizontally through the community via joyful play. We're talking dirt drawings, clapping sticks, absurdly funny songs. The magic literally moves into the community through pure joy and shared laughter. Section 4, Threshold versus Trap. Okay, you might be wondering, what on earth does a myth about a tree and a crying child have to do with software? Well, we are right back to our core question. Is your interface a threshold or is it a trap? Think about the nut tree. It waited quietly at the edge of the acoustic perimeter. It didn't scream for attention, it just held a space for arrival. So how do we translate that kind of safe edge into modern technological design? Look at the modern software we use literally every single day. Most of it acts like a trap, right? It competes for our focus with constant notifications, daily streaks, engagement hooks, just demanding immediate attention the second you look at a screen. The tree, however, teaches us the design of the threshold. A threshold waits well. It allows you to arrive safely, take a breath, and cultivates attunement before it ever even asks what you want. It's essentially leaving room in the song. That leads us to Section 5, the surface of arrival. Now, let's talk about Quetra. Quetra isn't some new physical gadget or a gamified wellness app. It is a really profound design direction. It's the first interface built directly from the principles of the tree. It takes that ancient threshold and actually translates it into software. Quetra is a calm interface that begins with arrival, breath, agency, and return. Instead of hitting you with a chaotic dashboard of demands the absolute second you open it, this first surface just lets you arrive safely.
Quetra actually mimics the quiet availability of the nut tree. It begins super simply, just with a breathing white orb, prioritizing what's called the Ma breath entrainment layer. So it gives you this visual rhythm, a steady inhale and exhale, to anchor your attention right off the bat. Quetra operates on a really fundamental rule. Attunement precedes generation, meaning it listens before it builds. It completely avoids the pressure of notifications or streaks, ensuring you always have a clear return path back to your own agency.
Bridging this beautiful organic myth to modern technology isn't just about making an app look pretty. It's about fundamentally shifting the entire architecture from capturing your attention to cultivating true coherence. It's about building an environment of trust from the ground up. And by beginning with an interface that genuinely listens, Quetra perfectly prepares us for the final reveal in our journey. We've explored the world, the codecs, the symbols, and now, finally, the interface. By beginning with an interface that listens, we are preparing for something completely unprecedented. But I want to leave you with this to think about. If our technology finally stops yelling at us and starts truly listening, what will it hear us say? Follow Fidelitas for the next chapter of The Second Weaving.